And then. All right. Well, you're listening to Grateful Grooves on 95.9 The Octopus, and we're here with Mickey Hart. Mickey, first of all, thank you for taking some time out to chat with us.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm here.
The Wiltern show is going to be a lot of fun. You've got a new CD out, Supralingua. I keep wanting to call it Spiralingua, but I know that's not right.
That sounds like something to eat.
Exactly.
Well, it is spiritual food of some sort, I imagine.
It's awesome. It's really, I've listened to it several times since I've gotten it, actually. It's quite awesome. What does the word itself, Supralingua, mean?
Well, Supralingua is from the Latin supralinguam, beyond language, above language. Most of the words on this CD are not really literal translations of any language. So we call it the Supralingua. It's phonetic, most of it, and it's not quite chant, but it's like speech before language. It's like what we might have sounded like before language became codified. So that's what Supralingua means.
You're out touring, or at least playing a few dates with this band. I know you're going to be down at the Wiltern in L.A. on October the 3rd. Is this the same band that's on the CD with, Zakir Hussain and Sakiro Ajipoju?
No, it's not. It's a new band.
New band?
New band.
Well, tell us about the new band.
Young, exciting band full of great percussionists and singers. Giovanni Hidalgo will be there. Of course, he's a great conga drummer and timbale player and everything else he touches. But on drums will be John Molo. Excellent drummer who played with me in the other one.
Right.
And Bruce Hornsby's old drummer. And Rashawn Fredericks, an excellent bass player, real funkmeister. And Nenge, a great Afro-Cuban drummer. And Glennis Rogers, an extraordinary woman talking drummer and singer.
That's one of my favorite drums, is the talking drum. I love it.
She is magnificent. And Rebecca Morleon, a Latina singer, pianist, percussionist, and Bobby Cepedas, also a great percussionist and vocalist. So this is a new crew, full of fire, and it's going to be a magnificent evening of rhythm and vocal.
Is it a big tour, small tour, just doing a couple dates?
It's a whole month, across the country. It's a national tour.
You didn't get enough this summer.
Really getting wet.
You didn't get enough this summer, huh?
I don't think I ever get enough. No. I just start the taste of blood. I just can't get enough. Well, when it's good, when the rhythm is right, life is good.
Sure.
And the rhythm is good now. So and life is good. So I just want to not. I just don't want to stop.
I noticed on the CD that primarily the tunes are written by the musicians that are on them. How structured were these recording sessions? Did you guys just come in and just kind of play it by ear, or did you have some guidelines, or how did that work?
Well, yes and no. I had a lot to do with the original vision of where I wanted it to go, or else, sometimes these sessions, unless you have months, turn into chaos. So I sort of guided it into this certain place, and everyone added their juices to it, and that's where that co-composition comes from. But every day I opened the microphone up for an hour or two just to jam, just to play, and some of those portions were edited and put onto the CD. So it's a combination of composition, loops, samples, grooves, ideas for songs, the Supralingua, and others just was part of the moment, which, which is always great. So it's got the best of both worlds on it, I hope.
All right. It's really awesome. How long did it take for that project? You said, you didn't have months and months. How long was that project?
Well, I mean, they come in and do their thing, and then it takes me, then there's the post-production. There's the pre-production and the post-production, which I'm responsible for, and they come in for like 2 weeks. All right. 2 or 3 weeks of recording.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
What's your favorite track? What's the best track on Supralingua?
Oh, God, I wouldn't know. There's a couple that really stand out. Angola is very powerful, but, there's something about Endless River that, is really enchanting. But I like Yabu Gabu. That's another... There's a lot of good stuff on this one. This one is... I look at this one as a gift from the gods. This one just sort of popped out. I mean, this is something you can't really rehearse. And it has a lot of joy in the tracks, and I'm really proud of it. But, I'm usually proud of my work.
Well, you should be.
Because I put a lot into it, and so does the musicians. They put their spirit they turn their spirit into form, and that's what this is all about. It's really it was an effort. It really was.
Mm-hmm. That noise again. Do you hear that at all, Dave?
No, I think you have an earwig.
Every time I turn up, I'm getting this weird noise in my headphones. Anyway, that was Endless River, and before that, Angola from Mickey Hart and Planet Drum, and the latest release, Supralingua. And I hope you're enjoying my interview with Mickey, because we got a bunch more to come. Before we get on with it, how about we get on with some tickets?
Right on.
What do we got there? I don't know. We got all kinds of stuff. You got Rat Dog right there?
Yeah, Bob Weir has some band.
Yeah, some band Bobby has. Rat Dog's going to be at the Wiltern Theater next Friday and Saturday, the 11th and 12th of September. I have tickets for Friday, the 11th. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's Friday the 11th. That's when we have tickets for. And if you want to go, Dave, why don't we make this one yours choice? What do you got?
Is that right, Friday?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, we want...
What do we want to do here? How do we want to give these pair of tickets away for Rat Dog?
They have to name some other band that Bob Weir's been in besides the Grateful Dead.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty easy one. 339-9590 if you know the answer to that question. What band has... or you can name any band that Bob Weir has been in besides the Grateful Dead.
And besides Rat Dog.
And besides Rat Dog, right. Okay, good. I'm glad we both thought of that. 339-9590, and let's continue on now. I'm going to talk with Mickey a little bit about Mystery Box on Grateful Grooves, only on 95.9 The Octopus. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your last solo project was Mystery Box.
Mm-hmm.
God, I think that was the most powerful solo project that you've done of all that you've done. I really, really love that. How did that project come to be?
Well, of course, the Mint Juleps were an extraordinary singing group, and we wedded their vocals with Hunter's songs to the strong grooves of Planet Drum. So it was an excursion into sort of a rhythmic R&B kind of zone, and it sort of took up the slack. When Jerry died, I just sort of went in there and just did the Mystery Box, and it got me here. But I had to go through that place. I've always wanted to mess around with 5- and 6-part harmonies, and it sort of prepped me for working in the Supralingua with the new vocalist components. Mm-hmm. It sort of got me here, working with very sophisticated vocals.
Sure. Working with Robert Hunter on that must have been rather intense.
Hunter's a trip. He's great. Hunter's full of inspiration.
Mm-hmm. How did the collaboration work? Did you go to him with music? Did he come to you with lyrics? Did you was it something totally different from that?
Both. It works any way it works with Hunter. There's no real formula. Sometimes I come up with the track and I give him the image, and then he either takes it or leaves it. The image anyway. Usually he writes something for the track. Sometimes he comes over while the music is going on, and he sits there and gets bathed in the music and the rhythm. He writes rhythmically, and so that's what I do. I give him a strong rhythm track and some musical direction to go in. So it works any which way. Whatever way it works with Hunter, it works. There's no one formula with him. He's a free spirit.
Right. I remember hearing a story about the recording of Down the Road. Someone telling about how that kind of came together with you and he together in the studio. Can you Tell us that story.
Yeah, well, I think we had another verse there, the famous fourth, the Garcia verse.
Mm-hmm.
The song was written before Jerry died, and then we were toying with it, and then he just walked outside, and he paces up and down sometimes when he's really working hard, and he just came back in, and he says, I've got the verse. He said, open the mic up, and I'd like to, I said, oh, let me see it. He said, no, just open the mic up, and he just laid it down, and I just went, oh my God, Hunter, you really did it. This is beautiful. This is, where did this come from? This is magnificent. He just scribbled it and just came right in and laid it down, and that was the archetype for the now famous fourth verse. So things like that happen with Hunter. He's just a moment kind of guy. And I've always been in awe of Hunter, and because it was a real hard thing to do to talk about, about Garcia.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
What do you talk about? His beard and the glasses and the smile, and those are the things, that you think about, the sweet guitar licks, and all of those kind of things, his sweetness, and how do you etch that in a song without it being corny, It was not easy, and then I had to sing it, and then he said, go sing it. That was not easy, emotionally for me.
Sure.
But, but it came from Hunter, and I wouldn't have been able to sing it if it didn't come from Hunter.
A couple other side projects to talk to you about. I remember, as a matter of fact, we actually met when I interviewed Phil several years ago in Las Vegas. And you were just finishing up an interview with another reporter, and I remember you talking something about a project you were doing with the Smithsonian. Whatever happened with that? I never really heard anything more about it.
Well, I work with the Smithsonian. I oversee the transfer of the Folkways catalog into the digital domain. I'm on the board there at Folkways. Folkways Records now is part of the Smithsonian Folkways. So I do some retrieval and some digitizing of the catalog there. I also work at the Library of Congress, where we have an extraordinary vault there of 50,000 recordings. So it's like musical archaeology in a way, and some of these recordings are some of our greatest creations as cultures, and they live there uncurated. So I try to assist in the unearthing and the bringing back of these recordings.
Okay, so which is vault number 1 and which is vault number 2?
Well, the bigger one is the Library of Congress. There's 50,000 plus there, and they're just in a couple of thousand at the Smithsonian. Both are valuable, but the real mother lode is at the Library of Congress.
Actually, what I meant was I meant the Grateful Dead vault versus the Smithsonian vault.
Oh, no, well, actually, there's as many in the Grateful Dead vault as there is in the Smithsonian. It's about the same, about 23, about 2,000 plus recordings. It's small in comparison to the Library of Congress, which is, of course, encompasses the world.
Let's see. Also, at that point, I also heard you mention during that same interview something you were doing. You were doing some work with healing power of drums.
Yes. Well, I'm always working with finding and unlocking the power and the secrets of rhythm. And now we're doing a scientific study and finding out exactly what does rhythm do to the brain and where does it work. What part of the brain is stimulated. What are the trance rhythms? What is auditory driving? Of course, that's the physiology of rhythm, what the drum does to the body and to the brain. So I'm involved in a scientific study of that now.
A couple other little projects to talk to you about. The Kyoto Monks. You were, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were partly responsible for bringing them over and bringing them to our attention. How did you find them? And
I think they found me.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a long story. Actually, Hunter, he actually bootlegged a copy of a chant that they had performed back in 1967 or something.
Wow.
And he had given it. It was on a public radio station, and he just gave me a cassette, and I listened to it for years unknowingly. And it was a recording by Houston Smith, the professor of the world's religions, and he recorded it in '65. So I was familiar with the Chants, and I learned of what they were all about in the 70s. And then Bob Thurman, you know, Uma's father, who is he's a monk himself, and he was their sponsor from the Buddhist Society. Brought them in to America in 1985, and our path. I knew Bob Thurman, and he told me they were in the United States, and I went to see him at Amherst College, and recorded them, and I said, boy, my friends have got to hear this. And so I brought them out to the Berkeley Community Theater, where we first presented them in '85, and that's where it all started. And then the Grateful Dead has been sponsoring their returns over the years to the United States for since '85. We've brought them back a few times, and I've recorded their CDs, you know, Freedom Chants from the Roof of the World and the Windham Hill recording as well. So it's how I support the Tibetans in exile. The monies go to the monastery in Dharamsala in India.
All right. What an amazing night! The night they came out and played with you guys at Shoreline.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome.
It's an amazing sound. You know, each monk sings 3 notes simultaneously. I mean, there is no more sacred sound like this on this planet.
Yeah. I also heard you went to Bali in April.
Indeed, I did.
And
Bali was full of music, I might add. And next year you will hear 3 CDs of the finest music from Bali. I mean, I had the time of my life over there. That was just fantastic. I recorded. I was there for 3.5 weeks, and so I recorded many hours of gamelan and very rare slonding and all kinds of Jews harps and very exotic and rare gamelan music.
Okay, cool. But before we get into the other ones and the Grateful Dead, I got one show that I got to ask you about. I will never forget this night. Keystone Berkeley. I forget what year it was, but it was like a day or two after you had shaved your head. Do you remember that show with Flora and Airto?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was so tremendous. You know, first of all, you blew me and everybody else away when you walked out bald. Okay.
Yeah, well, Airto didn't know about it. No one knew about it, and I had a hat on. And I remember I took the hat off just as he looked at me as we were playing. I had the hat on, a Navy cap, and I wanted to blow his mind, So he just looked at me, and I just took it off for a minute, and then someone took a picture. Just at that very second, I have that picture somewhere. And I just shaved my head, and Airto, of course, he stopped playing almost. But I just walked on, grabbed some instruments and started playing, and Airto, I just wanted to get to him. That's funny. I remember it well.
What was it? Why did you shave your head then? Was there any particular
my mother
reason?
was going through cancer treatment, and in solidarity, I shaved my head because she was like real. I said, "Oh, my hair is shaved. I don't want you to see me like that." So I said, "Hey, Mom, I don't have any hair either. Look at this. So it sort of lightened it all up, and it was just a show of solidarity."
Neat. The other thing about that night, you said you grabbed a couple instruments. I remember there was a whole stack of assorted percussion instruments, all nice and neatly stacked on one side of the stage.
Yeah.
And you and Airto started having at it, and you'd be playing something, and he'd go, "Hey, Mickey," and toss you something else. You'd have to drop what you were playing, and you were doing that to him. And by the time you were done, there was stuff all over the stage.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing with Airto. He's such a wild man, and we excite each other. And so it gets pretty physical up there, and, we beat the instruments up plenty good. It's an adventure playing with him, and the stage it becomes like a 3-ring circus when you're really in the heat of battle up there.
Well, you sure were that night. What year was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
The years
really
all blend in my head.
I remember the night. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s. I think it was sometime early mid 80s, maybe something like that.
It could have been. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about.
Close enough. I got to the right decade.
There you go. Not bad. Not bad. Let's talk about this past summer a little bit. The other ones. Who had the brainchild that this was? I mean, obviously, eventually, you guys were going to get back together at some point. Who had the brainchild or the inspiration to say, "Hey, let's do it now. Now's the time"?
I don't think it was anybody's idea. Not any one idea. I think a lot of elements had to line up before it was right. First of all, I didn't want to hear the music for about 1.5 years anyway, or 2 years. I just couldn't hear Grateful Dead music. It was just too close. Every time I heard Garcia's guitar, it was just too sad for me. You know, I mean, having the band ripped away like that, it wasn't something I wanted to hear. But time is a wonderful healer, you know, and
Sure.
also you have a chance to reflect on what you've done and how important it was as far as, you know, the joy it brought to different people, not only yourself but to the world. And so you see it in a different perspective. And everybody mourns in their own way, and time has a way of soothing, you know, the mourning process or taking care of it, however. And so it took 2.5 years, you know, to over 2 years before we could even be in a room together and look at each other and say, hey, you want to play? Hey, you want to play? Oh, yeah, okay, good. Okay, well, what's to stop us? Well, nothing, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, we're not the Grateful Dead. No, we're not without Jerry. Well, let's change the name. Okay, cool. You know, one thing just led to another, and then Phil, he sort of just woke up and wanted to play again. You know, I mean, he was.
I noticed that Phil was pretty much out of commission, and all of a sudden, boom, there's Phil everywhere.
He had his own way of grieving, you know, and he didn't do anything. You know, he didn't do any kind of music, and so he forgot the joy of music for a while, I guess. You know, I mean, my way was to get into the music and just surround myself by sound. I guess his way was not that way, you know, and then he came to realize that, God, this is such a gift, you know, I mean, and I think he wanted his kids to see him in that zone, you know, again, and give something back to the world, you know, and there's a lot of reasons. You'd have to ask Phil about them all, but Phil was a big part of it, you know, and so you know, the love between me and Bob and Phil was always there. It still is, and we have a great connection. And there's a magic that happens when the three of us are together. And the Grateful Dead was always about a group, and so was the other ones. So it seems like it still worked. I mean, there was a lot of doubts. We didn't know if we could get it back again, if we could get the eye back again, and get that energy and that magic back. But as soon as it started, you know, it was like riding a bicycle. You know, you never really forget, and it just doesn't go away if you keep yourself healthy and you have some kind of love at the you know, love at the bottom line, which is the bottom line here, really, and mutual trust and respect. That's what it's all about.
Sure. How difficult was it? I don't know. Maybe you kind of already answered this question. Maybe you didn't. You made the decision, okay, you sat down, yeah, you want to play, there's nothing to stop us. But once you actually got in that, you know, studio record, you know, practice session, wherever, how difficult was it to actually play Grateful Dead tunes without Jerry?
It really wasn't very difficult, I mean, physically to play again, because we were, you know, at least Bob and I were really in shape, and Phil was in, you know, he was in good shape as well. I mean, he you know, he really get around on his instrument, so it wasn't any problem physically. I mean, the guitarist position, of course, was the most difficult thing. You know, who to replace Jerry? You know, we found a few people, and they just weren't right. The chemistry wasn't right. They could play the notes, but, and you know,
it's a lot more than just the notes.
A place, you know, you can't replace Jerry. It wasn't a replaceable kind of thing. So we had to find some kind of chemistry with some guitar player, and we really were split on who we wanted. So we took two. So we said, okay, you guys do it. You know, and it took the heat off of each one of them. And it worked out in the most unexpected way. And, you know, it was just like the Grateful Dead. You never really can count on, you know, logic to really drive the argument. So we just sort of breathed deep, you know, and just played, and we were very relaxed about it, and just went back to the old songs and reworked them and had fun with them, you know, and kicked them around with a sort of a spirit that was a playfulness to it all, and not get real heavy about it. And I think that we gained strength and confidence as the rehearsals went on, and you know, our feelings towards the music has never really changed. We've always loved the songs. You know, they're all a piece of us. We all made those songs, and I found that Bob and Phil were very serious. You know, Bobby actually made it to rehearsals on time, which was, you know,
rehearsals. You even had rehearsals?
Oh, we rehearsed for, you know, a month, you know, over a month. It was something the Grateful Dead never did.
Right.
These new guys had to join the conversation, and you really can't teach this to anyone in a minute. You have to just play, jam, just play. And, you know, they had to know that getting lost was okay, what was legal, what was not. You know, they had to sort of come, you know, get sucked into our slipstream, you know, we had to suck them up in our tornado here.
At what point, and I mean, what was the determining factor when you finally, after rehearsing for a little bit, and you finally said, "Hey, maybe this thing really is happening."
No,
what was that determining factor?
We already decided to do it before we had a band.
Mm-hmm.
It was the other way around in typical Grateful Dead fashion, the cart before the horse. We said, "Yeah, let's go do it." Okay, great, and it'll all happen. Don't worry about it. And it did, but I tell you, it was touch and go there for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We went through.
I heard some of the stories.
Yeah,
and it sounded like it was tough.
It was a blessed little event. I had an ecstatic time this summer. I had a great time. It was wonderful. It was more than I anticipated, really.
You guys sure looked like you were having a blast.
I was having a blast. I love playing with John Molo. Great drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping into that position like that.
Why?
He's a real high energy, low maintenance, powerhouse drummer. Just a real up human being, and so you can tell in his performance and the combination of both of our styles just went together really well.
Mm-hmm. Now, not to take anything away from him, because you're right, he was great, but why didn't Billy go out with you guys?
Billy's retired. Billy's retired. You'd have to ask him.
Huh. So he just didn't want to do it, huh?
He's sitting on an island peeling pineapples now, and in a well-deserved pineapple peeling he's having. He played for 30 years.
Sure.
That's a long time. He's had enough. He's hung his sticks up, as far as that's what he says.
How did it feel when he came out and played with you at Shoreline?
Oh, it was fine. It was really a nice visit,
Mm-hmm.
I love Billy. We spent some of the highest moments in our life together, but, his heart's not in it.
Sure.
And it was just, it's intramural, strictly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's never said he wanted to do it, and it was just sort of a wonderful visit from a dear brother.
Mm-hmm.
John Molo is my,
he was great. Yeah, he was really great.
Yeah, Molo, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Molo doesn't want to be on an island. I can't play with someone who's on an island.
Sure.
Can you?
No.
It's just not done.
No.
So Billy, he just had enough, and I really respect him for it, love him dearly, and we had 30 great years together, and that's like a lifetime.
Which was, this may be a tough question, which was harder for you, playing without Jerry or playing without Billy?
Playing without Jerry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, Molo and I came together and it was really magical, and it was the chemistry was perfect. It was the Garcia that was really missed. The rhythm was right.
Mm-hmm.
The rhythm was really strong and there, positive, and it was right. The melody part of it was the hard part, and also, Jerry's presence.
Mm-hmm, sure.
and his sense of fun and not that I didn't miss Billy, but
sure.
It's a different thing. Molo really took up the slack.
Mm-hmm. What's the biggest difference for you, the Grateful Dead, compared to the other ones?
What's the biggest difference?
Musically.
Jerry. I would say that's the biggest difference. The spirit's the same. The groove is very similar. It's his voice.
Mm-hmm.
His vocal component and his melodic, the playfulness of his guitar, and the inventiveness and the exploratory nature of him as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's the difference. Certainly, you can't. That's why we didn't call ourselves the Grateful Dead.
Sure. Any chance we'll see the other ones next summer?
Could be.
We
really haven't spoken of it. We said we're just going to do this, see how it feels, go on vacation, come back together again, and talk about it. And everybody's still out there. Phil's still on vacation. We haven't really talked.
Mm-hmm. Well, it hasn't been that long.
No, it really hasn't. I've just been mixing the record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been in the studio mixing a 48-dig recording of the other one.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's beautiful. We did the live shows, live shows.
You guys going to release that?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
It's beautiful. It's a great recording.
Excellent. Excellent.
Beyond my expectations.
Now, here's kind of an off-the-wall other ones question for you.
Okay.
Something that I just kind of happen to notice and want to ask you about. How come, whenever you're singing, you always wear your sunglasses?
Oh, that's very good. That's a good question.
I just happened to notice that, and I'm just curious about it.
Well, I don't know. It's just I just feel really comfortable with them, and the glare in my eyes and everything, and I get into a zone. I just go into a place, that behind those shades that that it's an ecstatic place that I get to, because I usually wear shades always. And when the lights hit me real hard, I don't get bothered by them. They're really strong and real powerful and everything.
Yeah.
And it just sort of disconnects me from the lights and from the glare of things. And I just get into my head and get into my voice, and I get into the meaning of the words.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about it. And I go into another persona, kind of. It just shifts me immediately into, a non-percussive zone. Because it's not really comfortable to wear to wear glasses while I drum because of the sweat.
Sure. They
And it's
slide
okay
right off
when
your face.
I sing.
Ah,
I don't mind that because I'm not moving up and down so much, and I don't have to readjust the glasses, and I just get into it's a headspace.
Huh. Okay. Neat. All right, you ready? Okay. Well,
it's a headspace.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I was given that question from an inside source, and let's just say that the answer the expounded answer as to why Mickey wears his sunglasses when he sings, the one that he gave is not really the full story. Those all may be very well and true, but they're not really quite the real story. A bunch of people call and said, "Oh, it was tribute to Jerry," and if it was in tribute to Jerry, he would have said that when I asked him. Okay, but the reason is they are prescription glasses, and somebody sneaks back the lyrics and leans them up there for him to read. So anyway, there you go, Ed. You're the man. You scored all those tickets. All right, you ready? Ready to talk about the old band, the Grateful Dead, a little bit?
I'm ready to talk about anything.
Okay.
I'm not afraid.
Well, let's go way back.
Oh.
Way back.
No, not too far.
How did you? They were already together when you came on. How did you first hook up with the guys?
Well, actually, someone introduced me and Kreutzmann. I was hanging out with Count Basie. And
that's not bad
Kreutzmann
company.
was in the audience. We were at the Fillmore, and some unnamed, unknown person, I never found out who it was, said, "You two guys have got to meet." And they this person introduced me to Billy, and I think they were still the Warlocks at the time, and then we became really great friends that night. And we just went around the town just playing on parking meters, with drumsticks, on garbage cans, cars, you name it. We played the city that night until dawn. We just hung out, and that's where it all started. And then I started teaching Billy some rudiments and some paradiddles and this and that, and he invited me to a rehearsal and he played in a garage. I never could find a garage. And then they played at a place called the Straight Theater. And on Haight Street, and I came over, and at the break, he said, "Hey, do you want to play? Yeah, let's get another drum set." I go, "Okay." I never heard the band. I never heard this kind of music before, and so we ran out, and he got another drum set from one of his friends, and we came back, set it up, and played for hours, and that was the Grateful Dead. After that was over, the power of that night just sort of locked it in. And we go, "Okay." Jerry goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Twin screws." He goes, "Oh my God, what an engine this is! You could ride this to glory." And that was that. And then I moved in with Billy, and that was and the rest you know.
Now you mentioned the Straight Theater. There were all those great clubs that the Dead played: the Fillmore, the Avalon, the Matrix, Carousel, and all of them. What was your favorite and why? Which place did you like to play at the best?
I love the Fillmore. I love Winterland, and I also love the Avalon. The Avalon was great, but I think it was the Fillmore. Because it sounded so good, and it had a certain smell to it.
Yeah. What smell follows Grateful Dead concerts around?
I don't know. Brain cells burning.
Something like that.
But it had a certain kind of a sound that you could really tell back then. It was a sort of kind of special thing. But of course, Winterland was really our home.
Sure.
After after Fillmore.
Sure. You took a hiatus from the band for a few years. first of all, why, and what were you doing during that time?
Well, I had enough of the road. I wasn't a real road guy. I didn't like the road, And I wanted to build a studio, and I wanted to find out what I sounded like. I wanted to be in the studio. That's where I learned how to, be an engineer, and I learned all the things that I'm using now on these records, where it started anyway. And so it was no animosity. Everybody understood, it was no weird, bad feeling. And I just dug into the studio and stayed there and did Rolling Thunder and, all my solo records and built a studio and just lived. And then when I thought it was time to come back, I just brought my drums down and joined up again. It was just that simple, And you really don't sign in or sign out of the Grateful Dead. Either you are or you're not.
Right.
So it wasn't anything more than that, really.
The Grateful Dead, obviously, they evolved, changed musically quite a bit over the years. How conscious was that, evolution, and how much of an influence did you and Billy, as the drummers, have in that evolution?
Well, we were the engine, so you figure it out. It was the impulse, the rhythm. That's what sent the blood through the veins. It was an extraordinary amount of influence rhythmically in the Grateful Dead, because the Grateful Dead was a rhythm band. And we took it out of 4/4 and put it into 7/11, all kinds of odd meters. And when we stopped becoming a blues band, it was quite a difference between the blues band and what turned into the Grateful Dead, the experimental music band. We were just, we were just copying, Robert Johnson tunes and, old bluegrass things. And then all of a sudden it became new music filled with rhythmic exploration. So it's really, it's really hard to quantify it, but it was quite significant, I would think. And also there was the double drumming thing, which the power of the double drumming and the possibilities that it opened up for the band to be able to go with each drummer or with both. And we could split the band in two rhythmically. The possibilities became limitless in a way once you really explore the possibilities of double drumming. And having a percussionist as well, bringing gongs and congas into rock and roll and all of that. This is before the Allman Brothers and all of the double drumming things. James Brown had done it, but that was the only one who had done it before. You and Billy certainly made quite a pair. I used to refer to you as the two wizards behind the band. Did you and Billy look at it as, him the drummer, you the percussionist, or were you both? Or no, we looked at it as 8 arms, an 8-armed monster, or an eight-pronged rhythm machine. We did whatever we had to do to make it, to make the magic. So it wasn't really a drummer percussionist role, although I've always favored, the world's percussion, and Billy basically is a rock and roll R&B drummer,
right?
Jazz drummer as well, kind of thing. But I've always favored, I've always gone to the hand percussion or just the more exotic world percussion. So it was a great match, although I always considered myself a trap drummer primarily.
Bobby used to call, I believe it was Mama Tried, drummer's choice. Was it really the drummer's choice, and why?
What's that?
Mama Tried.
Mama Tried?
On a lot of tapes, Bobby go, now this next one's drummer's choice.
Oh, they knew we hated it.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
El Paso, Mama Tried.
Okay.
We didn't really, we didn't hate it. It's just that we had burned out on it, and it wasn't a very ambitious rhythmic thing. It's only so much you can do with those cowboy songs.
Sure.
So it was a joke. It was sort of that's Bobby's sense of humor.
That was kind of what I thought.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He'll play stuff just because you don't want to play it, and it's okay.
On the other end of the spectrum, then, if those were your least liked Dead tunes, what were some of your most liked? What were your favorites to play?
Oh God! Well, I love the other one. The other one was always filled with amazing amounts of magic. St. Stephen was great. The 11 was great. I love Morning Dew and Death Don't Have No Mercy, and The old stuff.
All the ones that we all love, too. Imagine that.
Pardon me?
All the ones that we all love, too. Imagine that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, those were the real soulful ones, you know. Those are the ones that really, you know, China Doll, you know, great songs, you know. Almost all of the Hunter Garcia songs. Those are my favorite songs.
First thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing. Then the youngest dream of growing up to ride. this place. The bus come by and I got mentioning on again. There was time when you got the real of us.
What's your impression of Deadheads as a whole?
I think they're an amazing, miraculous bunch of maniacs. You know, I think they've invented themselves, and they deserve each other. I think that if it wasn't for them, there might not be us. So I have an amazing amount of respect for them. They're tenacious, and they're amazing.
Do you think that had you not become a member of the Grateful Dead, would you have been a Deadhead, do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I tell you, I was a Deadhead from the minute I heard the band. I couldn't believe it. I remember before I sat in with them, I didn't know what the hell they were doing. I mean, it was just out of control. I just thought this was madness. First of all, I couldn't hear much of the band because all you could hear was Phil rumbling and a little bit of Jerry and Pigpen's organ. That's all you really couldn't. You couldn't hear Billy or anything. I mean, there was no PA in those days, and it was so loud.
Right.
I was just taken by the immensity of the sound. So I think I was a Deadhead before there were Deadheads. I think we were all Deadheads. You know, in the band, I think that it started with us. You know, I think that we were really hooked on the Grateful Dead before, you know, anybody, you know, before there were Deadheads.
You know,
I think that we appreciated the magic of the band. We knew that it was powerful right from the very beginning. There was no question about it. It was just how long would it take for the whole world to be able to get with it.
Now, when I asked Phil that question several years ago, he said, first he says, nah, I don't think so. Well, yeah, I would have been into the music. Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I would have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
I mean, it's an interesting question, you know, I mean, but I remember the first moment I heard it, I said, I didn't understand it. I didn't even know if I liked it. But I just knew it was amazing.
I don't know if any of us still understand it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you have to. I don't think that's the important thing.
No.
I think that's the least important thing. Forget about it.
Let's talk a little bit of technical stuff.
Okay.
You guys played quite an array of different drum setups over the years. A couple of things that I want to talk to you about is the beam. That thing is amazing. Explain it to. I actually saw it one night. I think it was at
it's based
Irvine
on the Pythagorean theory of monochord, which is the long vibrating strings in unison. And it's a very sophisticated pickup, and it's able to explore the depths of sound. It's not music. I wouldn't call it music. I would call it more like deep vibration, But it also was a noise instrument as well. So the beam was it's a trance instrument. It was
Certainly put me in a trance on more than one occasion.
It was capable of that. That's where I was headed.
We always used to shoot for seats at Oakland in the Coliseum there, so that we could kind of.
It was supposed to vibrate. It was supposed to vibrate, right up your perineum. It was a vibratory instrument. It wasn't necessarily. It didn't play to the higher regions. It was headed towards the super low end.
And it found those regions. That's for sure. Also, Ramu. You're fairly. I guess that's your newest piece in your arsenal.
That's the new name for my excursions in the digital domain. It's a sound droid, a bot, a digital workstation, whatever you want to call it. It contains all of those sounds. The beam is in it as well, and all of my collection of percussion instruments have been sampled and put into Ramu, which is a MIDI instrument, very powerful. And I use it, in Planetrum and of course the other ones, and I use it in the Grateful Dead. It wasn't all quite together as Ramu back then, with the pads and all of those electronic things that you were hearing. It was sort of in pieces. Now it's one real instrument, a real babe.
Bob Braylove helped you out with that a lot.
Oh, Bob Braylove, he gave it the name and designed it, and he's the feeder of Ramu. He programs Ramu, and. He's very responsible for the
cool guy.
The growth and nurturing of the robot.
Quite a few musicians sat in with the Dead, often over the years, and a lot of times it seems that there was an extra drummer jumping up there with you guys.
Yes.
Who were some of the ones that stand out in your mind that sat in with you and Billy over the years?
Well, Ayerto Morea was always a favorite. Ayerto, he was mad enough to enjoy the ruckus. Baba Olatunji.
Oh, he was.
Babatunde Olatunji. We was always welcome. There were different people from Willie Green from what do you call it? Neville Brothers.
Oh, right.
And Carter Bruford sat in one time from Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, okay. Carter was, he was up there once. God, there's so many of them, over the years. Sikiru Adipojo on talking drums sat in with us from time to time.
Now, you guys picked up Hamza El-Din in Egypt.
Hamza came in and sat in with us? Absolutely. He was a big one.
Man.
Yeah, he was a good old friend, and he did great with the band.
I got to tell you a little story.
And even one of the drummers from Kodo. The Japanese, the taiko drummer from Sado Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he sat in with us one night at Madison Square Garden. And, over the years, some Kitaro.
Oh, Kitaro sat in with you guys,
artist.
huh? Oh, wow.
He's a dear friend. Kitaro-san. He sat in with us once, or more than once. Yeah, it was a very friendly atmosphere, and certain people who had that kind of that resonance with me or Billy were allowed to, that moment.
I got to share a little Hamza El-Din story with you.
Okay.
About 4 or 5 years ago, I saw him at McCabe's Guitar Shop, a little teeny place in Santa Monica. They have small shows in the back room. And he was playing his oud mostly that night. Played a little bit of tar, but mostly his oud. And after the show, I had a chance to meet him, and I said, Hamza, it's such a pleasure. I've seen you with the Grateful Dead on a few occasions, and it's kind of neat to see you doing, your own thing. And he looks at me now. Keep in mind, I saw him with you guys at the Coliseum, maybe at Kaiser, and maybe I was up on the rail one of those nights, maybe, okay? But he looks at me and says, oh, yes, I recognize your face. And I just went, oh, okay.
Hamza is a caraca.
Yeah.
He's so funny. I went into the desert with him, into the Sudan when we played Egypt. And I went to his village. And oh, what an experience I had, with Hamza out there in the village. The whole village dancing and singing and playing drums, in the middle of nowhere in the desert. The Bedouins, on horses, camels, guns. An amazing experience.
Yeah.
Hamza's a wonderful human being.
Yeah, I've actually met him a few times since. He really is a neat guy.
Yes, he is.
Let's...
The people all complain. Stephen prospered in his time, really made and it made incline. Did it bad, it does it now. Stephen would answer if they only knew how. Across the morning sky, sunlight splatters, dawn without sun. Darkness drugs and bids the day goodbye. Fleeing arrow, sharp and narrow. What a fleeting matters you have spent. Several seasons in their treasons. Wrap the babe in scarlet covers, call it your own. Did it down or did it try? Answers are plenty in the by and by. Talk about your penny, talk about your ills. One man gathers what another man spills. so long, he's got to calling it home. Oh, she comes a-crawling, happy woman, spinning that curious sense of your own. And you answer, yes I can. But what would be the answer to the answer?
Let's play a little name association. I'll mention some names, and maybe you can throw out the first thought or a little story or something. You up for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with your old partner. We've talked about him a lot, but Billy Kreutzmann.
Kreutzmann, oh God, he's a lot of things to a lot of people. He's a crazy, wonderful, magnificent, probably the most, perhaps the most underrated drummer in the world. I consider him one of the greatest drummers of all time. Personally, I could. When Billy is on, I could just sit and listen to him play forever. He's brilliant, and rhythm just drops off of him just like a sweat. And he's the best at what he does. He really is. So that's what I think of Billy. And he was also my partner and dear brother, for many years, and we shared some of the highest moments of my life together.
Ken Kesey.
Kesey, also, when he's at his best, he's brilliant, a great family man, and at times he's quite funny, and he, of course, as a writer, at one time, there was no better.
Yeah, yep. Bill Graham.
Oh, Graham, a desperate man in a desperate time. Also one of my best friends. Graham gave us a place to play, and he also made us understand that if we wanted to play our instruments, we had to play for money. I mean, we couldn't keep playing for free, or else they would take our instruments away, and we couldn't pay the rent. And so he said that there's a business of music as well as a spiritual side to music. And we were lifelong friends, and he was a great dancer, and he loved rhythm, and he loved the Grateful Dead. And we were best of friends to the end.
Bob Weir.
Oh God, a loving guy, a heart of gold, and not a bad bone in his body, a sweetheart, one of a kind guitar player. I mean, nobody plays rhythm guitar like Bob. Probably nobody wanted to play, but certainly nobody does. And he's still my brother, a dear friend, and we've gone through a lot together, and he's always been true.
Here's a name from the family, kind of from the past. Dan Healy.
Healy, interesting character. Healy, a visionary, actually. He taught me about remote recording. He started him and Owsley started me in field recording, and he built the barn, and he was the one who built that studio that I retreated to when I left the band. So Healy played an important part in my education as far as being able to plug a microphone in and to know what was good, what was bad, and a tireless worker and a great visionary as far as designing the Grateful Dead PA and responsible for many of the tapes that are in the vault.
Another technician, Bob Brayloff.
Oh, Brayloff. Well, Brayloff is a great technician, you bet. And he's a visionary, and he works more in the digital domain, and a systems man. He understands MIDI, and he understands how to put a bunch of gear together and make it work and do twice as much as it's supposed to do. Brayloff is invaluable.
Vince Welnick.
Vince, great spirit. Love Vince. Vince is cool. Vince plays, he sings, and he was there when we needed we needed a keyboard player. He was an unassuming guy, and he was the right man for the right job. I like Vince.
Yeah, I thought he was a great fit with the band.
Yeah.
It was a great fit with the band.
Yeah, it worked well.
A few more. Phil Lesh.
Phil was my first, besides Kreutzmann, my first real friend in the Grateful Dead. We lived together and worked out all the other one rhythms and worked, and wrote music together and hung out constantly. He's a virtuoso bass player. Nobody plays like Phil. I mean, he actually really doesn't even play bass. I mean, it looks like a bass, but not. And his musical ideas are so far-reaching that they'll be thinking about that in the next century. So that's what I think about Phil. I mean, he's out there.
Robert Hunter.
Who?
Robert Hunter?
Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Hunter. This is your life.
Two more after this one.
Hunter is really a special case, a real madman, and as crazy as they get. Probably the craziest guy I know. And he's also perhaps the most brilliant. And his words come from another place. I don't know where he finds those words. And they come to me at times when I need them. That's the thing about Hunter's words. If they don't hit you right away, read them or listen to them again and again and again, and then they'll come to you just when you need something to explain an unexplainable moment. Hunter's words will explain it. That's what I love about his words. Sometimes I have no idea what half of the stuff he writes, but every once in a while, if you're into his words, it explains something that is totally unexplainable.
Pigpen.
Who?
Pigpen?
Oh, Pigpen.
Yeah.
Oh, a dear friend. I was thrown in with Pigpen when I joined the band, just to see if I had
see if you could cut it, huh?
Yeah, he was my roommate. Pigpen he wouldn't kill an ant. I mean, he looked like a Hell's Angel, but he was the sweetest human being on the planet. And he was the only musician in the Grateful Dead, really. He was the best musician. I mean, he played harp and sang.
Certainly had the best stage presence.
Keyboards, and he was the main guy. When I joined the Grateful Dead, it was all about Pigpen. And it was Pigpen songs, and it was Pigpen who got the audience up. Not Jerry, not Bobby, not Phil. It was Pigpen. And so Pigpen just drank himself to death, and it was a very sad. He believed that to be a blues player, you had to, drink 1 or 2 quarts of Southern Comfort a day to really make the grade. So it was a tremendous loss for me.
The last, and certainly not least, Jerry Garcia.
Well, he was probably the sweetest guy I've ever met, and brilliant and intuitive, kind, He was very saintly, in a way, and very strong as well. He had the best of a lot of worlds in that body of his, and, he was a great supporter of mine and, I guess, my best friend.
How... So, I guess that answers my next question, which was how close were you to Jerry? I guess you were pretty close.
Well, we were very close, I mean, we've done about everything you can do together, and, we were my best friend.
Jerry, of course, was, setting aside everything else, he was a teacher. He was here to teach us. A lot of people say that. I think that. What is the most important thing you feel that you learned from Jerry?
Well, he taught you to be yourself, to find out who you are, and also to be kind to others, and to be conscious, that was the thing about him. His best moments were an egoless, it was when you could take your ego and put it outside and create something of great beauty, and to uplift the soul and the spirit, and that's what Grateful Dead music was about. That's what our personal relationship was about. If he ever made me feel bad, and he has from time to time, he always came back and said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "I didn't mean to say or do that." He was a conscious human being, and he never wanted people to suffer. He would do stuff, crazy stuff, just so people wouldn't suffer, and he was a Dalai Lama kind of guy, great wisdom and an enlightened being. I always thought of him as that, and of course, a great guitar player.
Of course. Of course. Mickey, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time with us.
This is your life. Mickey Hart. Okay, I hope my high school music teacher is not going to appear now.
He's just going to jump out over the phone lines. Thanks a lot, Mickey. We look forward to Planet Drum at the Wiltern on October the 3rd.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thanks.